there's a lot of decisions that we made while making music that sometimes were hard decisions to make because it went against the grain. But it's not going to be a bad record. It's going to be a good record.
I see myself putting more into it now going forward than I have in a while.
We've learned we don't need to ram it in a 2-month period, you know, or force it that way, and allow us to live our lives separately and together and make it work.
Just, incredibly grateful, man.
Grateful. I think I can speak for millions of fans, from the day ones to the newly obsessed, when I say we are the grateful ones. For more than 30 years, Deftones have been the most consistent, excellent rock experience of our lifetime. They're about to release their 10th album, Private Music, which is why I'm walking into Cantor's to interview them for the upteenth time. And I'm nervous like it's the first time. All right, I'm just gonna keep it incredibly honest with you boys. I came in really hot today because I literally just listened to the album all the way through. I'm pretty sure in order, I hope in order, but who knows at this point, because at the time of filming this, there's still a lot to be figured out. Like, I think the album is officially done. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for making another one as good as what you've made. But it's really great to see you all again. I've known most of you for a long time. And just figured out that we met for the first time, which is crazy, because I've been listening to you as long as I've known these guys and before.
You know what's crazy is, for me, I don't know how often it happens to all these guys, but I'm always under the impression or belief that I've done things with people when I never have. Like, you remember? And I'm like, and they're like, no, I don't. I'm like,
You've been at it a while, so you're...
That's like, how did I get that in my head that I just swore up and down we already been out somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't happen sometimes.
But what you're saying is true. It's like when you stay consistent to something, when you continue to work at something, and to some degree, you're focused on the moment so much when you're in a band like yours. You're either focusing on the show tonight, and that requires you to be present, or you're focusing on the music you're making, and that requires you to be present. So the rest of it just falls into gray, right? At the end of the day. It was good to finally meet you at last.
Thank you.
Let's just stay exactly where you are, just fresh out of the studio, fresh out of finishing this body of work, because it's rare that I get a chance to talk to a band when the record is fresh too. Sometimes it's like 3 months, sometimes it's a year after you finish the record when we start talking to them.
It is. It's a year and a half after.
It is, really?
Since I've been done.
Right, so let's talk a little bit about the making of it and how this one came together, because they're all unique.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it took a while. Like Steph said, I mean, it's been done in like little spurts over the last maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
So since the first time we got together and started, making noise together collectively in the same space.
Yeah.
And that started in Nashville. I think was the first time that just us three got together. We were between shows, and that's where Nick Raskulinecz, our producer, lives out there, and he had a studio out there at the time. So we were between 2 festivals, and we hopped on the bus with Stefan, and we went into a spot for a week, and we just started making some noise and come up with this initial kind of like, just little ideas. But and then we created a folder. That was a thing. Like we had this idea that we were gonna, because we're all sort of like, for a while now, we've all lived in different cities. So to make a record, it's not like it was when we were kids, When
So you two are back, you in Sacramento?
Still. Yeah, we're still there. We used to have our spot. We were there forever, man.
Yeah.
It's a different story when you're all living in the same town and sort of our hangout, but this is a different scene these days. So.
Ever since like probably the late 90s or 2000s, I think is right when Stefan moved down here. Before that, we all lived, aside from Chi left a little bit to move to San Diego and like when we were riding around the fur. So it's funny enough, that record was written with us without Chi there for the first half of it, whatever, which is
Early
crazy.
in a band's life to be managing distance as well as creative chemistry, right? That normally happens when everyone's on album number 6 and it's like, all right guys, I'm gonna spend some of this money, and it's like, to do it that early on is...
Yeah, I mean, we just wanted to, like, we obviously wanted to wait for Chi to come in and start working, but we all lived, we were in Sacramento at the time, and we called the spot, our studio that we have there still, that was like our clubhouse. So we just be there every night, no matter what. So we all had our instruments and we just start playing and coming up with ideas. But after that, around the White Pony era, Stefan moved down here, and we wrote some of it maybe in Sacramento, but most of it, that's when we kind of started, like, us that lived in Sacramento still would come here to LA, and we'd rent a little spot, like a little lockout or something, and we'd start writing. But usually never like we get it going to make a record and make the whole thing and then everybody go home. We'd like come for a few weeks, write a little bit, everybody go home, whatever. So that's kind of why I say it took like 3 years. It didn't like consistently take 3 years. It was, little spurts. Like we'd work for a week. We started in the desert. We went there actually the first time we were all together.
Nice.
We went to Joshua Tree.
Yeah, to the studio out there.
Yeah.
Is it Rancho de Luna?
Wasn't that one? It was right
next door.
Right next door. Yeah.
I think we were the first people in that studio.
We were.
Yeah.
And it
Fireside,
didn't
yeah.
take 3 years. We're only in the third year, and we're only 6 months into that year.
Yeah. So
Probably,
if you
yeah.
actually look at the amount of pockets of time.
Yeah,
you
and
can-
you know, we've been busy with life.
We had a folder
it's not
called
like
Let's
we
Bake
were
a
just
Cake,
like taking
and it was
forever.
really literally Let's Bake a Cake. So that was the name of our folder. Everyone would kind of drop some ideas, and the cake is now in the oven, baked.
It's baked, man. I had a taste.
And we're putting a little icing on it. And,
delicious.
Yeah.
We may have cut a slice soon.
Yeah, does that mean it's already been decorated yet?
I don't know, man. I think it's being decorated as we speak.
Artwork is done.
It is.
Artwork is done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Frosting on there.
but yeah, we did that, and then we went to Malibu. We went to Shangri-La.
Yeah.
For I think the bulk of it was done there, and only in 2 weeks.
Is it the first time you've
For
recorded
writing
out
though
there?
too.
For
This is
writing.
more, yeah.
Yeah. No recording there. We just wrote there for a week. Then we all left for a few months, couple months maybe. Came back, did another week there, and that's where the bulk, I think, of the material that's on this record was written.
It's beautiful. It doesn't feel, to me at least, the way you describe it as being the kind of pressure that bands have felt when you would come together, like you said before, for a month, and it's like, all right, pressure cooker situation. We've got to get this done. We've got tours to do, blah, blah, blah. To start it in between shows, to just get on the bus and just go and see Nick, who you know, get the ball rolling, to write in Shangri-La. I mean, that's music heaven.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
amazing.
it's gorgeous out there.
It's a really good headspace there
really
to you create, and and I think testimony to the whole thing as well is like the fact that it has been that long since we started, but the music, it's easy. It's a good way to judge the lasting power of the songs. Like nothing feels like, oh, this was a snapshot of just that time, and now we're in a different place. It's 2 years later and blah, blah. These songs, after 2.5 years of when their inception,
You're right.
they still feel very much immediate, now, it's
Yeah.
pretty great.
You've earned it. I mean, whatever makes it work for you at this point to be able to continue to do what you love. And like you pointed out, you've got life and things going on around the band that you want to maintain and honor. But this is still a joy for you to be a band, right? So is this how it works now? It's like, let's not put ourselves through it to do
Totally.
it. Let's figure it out where it works for everybody, including our families.
That's-
Yeah, I mean, it
Exactly what
should
it
be, it's obviously work to make, to create, and there's a lot of stuff that goes along with it, but it definitely should be enjoyable, right? It's like, and I feel like for me personally, I've made a couple records where it wasn't as enjoyable as this record because of just it just, whether I wasn't in a creative space at the time or whatever, blah, 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 but it just felt like it's something that I just had to do, and it felt more like a job to have to do it, you know what I mean? Whereas this record to me was just having those breaks in between, and when we got together, it was just this is the fun part, right? Leaving the studio that day with something that didn't exist before we walked in there. I think that not having this set thing that we have to stick to kind of makes it makes it more fun, right? Really.
It's an electrifying return. It's an incredible, I think I can probably say this because the information will be out there. It's an 11, as of right now, an 11 song record.
Yep.
And it's back together with Nick Raskulinecz. I think you kind of shared that information not long ago in another conversation because fans are on Reddit talking about that and they're excited about that. People love Koi, people love Diamond Eyes, along with the other albums. So the question is, what brought you back to Nick? Because we know that you've been with Bob and you've had other people, primarily Terry, but this is Nick's third record. So what made you decide to get back with him?
Nick's great to work with us specifically because he helps wrangle us, where, we can start jamming and we'll just start playing, and then 45 minutes later, we're in outer space somewhere, just playing, enjoying ourselves. But
Yo,
as far
stop.
as
Dude, that was
stopping
sick. Do
and,
that.
yeah,
Yo.
he'll help us yo, that what you were doing 5 minutes ago, and he'll have it on tape, rewind it. This is the essence of what was happening here until you guys went to outer space.
Yeah.
So it's great to have someone like that in the room with us, someone that we trust. someone he's a great person too. He's like,
Yeah,
we
really
you know
good hang.
we get along very good. He's
It was a
also
trifecta. We wanted to be able to complete that third,
and he's also
trilogy.
not afraid to like like I said, to stop us in our tracks and like
Yeah.
like give us some
sure.
direction and help.
So what do you
help
hear
us.
from Nick? When the records that you made with Nick, is there a through line here sonically that I can describe it as a fan? I feel like Nick takes you in a bit more of a nighttime neon landscape, and I feel like Terry really is like far more of a Richter scale shaking earthquake type environment. That's what I hear at least in the records.
Yeah, Terry's as great as a producer is, he's like a greater engineer. You know what I mean? When we went with him in the first place, when we did our first couple records, from Bad Motorfinger to Pantera records to all that stuff, like we were so excited to get at that time too. Like I think Pantera, Far Beyond Driven, it just came out, and like that was probably one of all of our like favorite records at that time. So to like that guy to agree to do our record, we were like excited. But then we kind of like bound his hands because we were like, we love this record, but we don't want it to sound like that. That record's a lot more like trigger drums and sort of like
the Pantera sound.
it's whatever. And we weren't that, although we loved it. So he came in and I didn't really. I mean, still our first record is probably my least favorite record, sonically I think more than anything. And but when we did the Around the Fur album, which is probably my favorite record of ours, it was just like I feel like he was just at peak, like just is engineering everything. I mean, everything connected in that, and even us in general, like our musically, we wrote, recorded, and mixed that record in 4 weeks.
Yeah, you can kind of almost hear it now you say that. It makes sense. I didn't know that fact, but it's crazy.
2 months actually, yeah, 2 months.
But it sounds very free of any kind of overthinking going on, right down to the way it begins, and even
very
the snare
immediate.
sound. I mean, it's almost dub. Like I love the fact that you and Chi are playing dub with each other, and it's very kind of like you're moving in spaces that none of your peers were thinking about, and you're drawing a line in the sand as to where we stand versus anybody else. No, let's just do it that way. It's kind of crazy to think, and we're going to catch up again, but while we're here to talk about some of these songs that continue to reach people. I know people like to talk about like a year that you've had or 2 years that you've had, like, oh, it's such a moment, whatever. But for fans, it's been like this all the way through, non-stop. There's no moments, it's a collection of moments all the way. But some people are catching up to you for the first time, hearing songs like Shove It, which are, more than 20 years old. I mean, that kind of must blow your mind to some degree.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I started noticing it a lot like around like 2022, like somewhere probably like kind of during the pandemic, whatever, but like a lot of, even when we went on our first tour out of the pandemic, like I started noticing a lot younger fan base, as well as, some of the old diehard fans, but then, this kind of new sort of like, and then it's like, even like the kids of our older fans too, whatever. We did some meet and greets, and I would ask, like, because there were a lot of parents and kids. I was like, who showed who, our music? And it was pretty much split down the middle sometimes. Sometimes it was the younger kids who showed their parents, and their parents heard of us, but probably never seen us, right? So they were bringing them, and then it was parents bringing their kids. So it was kind of a cool thing.
Well, we went to the Forum show, and then I saw you again at MSG, and this time, and I went the second time. I would have gone anywhere. I went the second time because our 16-year-old was like, they're playing tomorrow night. I was like, yeah. He's like, can I go? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take Howie. I'll take you to all the shows. So we went, and he put on the back of my shirt, and he was like, look around. And I looked around, and around me were people sort of my age, and then they're sort of 30s and 40s, like fans for like 10 years, whatever. In all the bases of the stands where the parents obviously weren't sure about whether to let their kids get down onto the floor.
Yeah.
It was just like 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, and it was just a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah.
It was like, this music is timeless. I mean, Adrenaline, right, went platinum. How long after it officially came out?
It'd be like almost 10 years, I think, after it was that.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
That these songs keep finding their audience. Can I quote Chi on this? He said early on that it was about honesty and integrity. It was about this consistency, this commitment that you had, even as a very, very new band, that you weren't going to shake from the honesty and integrity because you felt that the kids can see through that. Where did that come from? Because that's a very strong commitment to make as a bunch of high school friends, trying to just get going.
I mean, I think when you're a fan of music in general, and like like music is, it was skateboarding and music, when we were like met in junior high school, and him and I would sit in class, like literally we had math class together, and we had like headphones with
Yeah, we
you know,
would split like like old earbuds.
the old puffy
Put one
ones.
up. We would sit like this.
Slide the thing down to loosen
Yeah,
up one and like
and listen to
Of our
records
arms.
together and talk about them and and just like music, like we just cared about it so much growing up, whatever. And I think when we get the chance to actually put music out, maybe carried a lot of that with us, just like really cared about what we made, and there's a lot of decisions that we made while making music that sometimes were hard decisions to make, because it went against the grain, or it's just like
the opportunity seemed great, but it didn't fit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to sort of like a punk rock skateboarding ethos that we all kind of came up in, where it was about integrity, and it was about, it had to mean something. It had to for us, it was fun. It had to be fun because why are you doing it? It got to be fun. But there was something about that, we took it seriously. I mean, we were goofballs, and
I think
still are,
there are times in our career though that where there were lulls. I think where maybe from the outside you couldn't really see it, but from internally, like where we just weren't like firing, or I don't want to say we were being dishonest with ourselves, but maybe just lazy. You know what I mean? Was on certain things. I could say, talking about myself personally, where like around the White Pony time, when we did something that was against the grain and it was left of what was happening at the time, like commercially, like in music, whatever, and it worked, but like I feel like a lot of that was luck too, because like we went in the studio to make that record with like not really any songs. We had a couple ideas, but we wrote a lot of it in the studio. It was it was just, I feel like there was some luck with that, and because that album was so successful, I was sort of tricked into believing like, oh well, I can just do anything, and then people are gonna like it, right? So then I feel like I got a little lazy, like on the next couple records, where it was just like, not realizing that with anything in life, that lesson that my dad and teachers have told me forever, but like what you put into something is what you get out of it, right? Because I got lucky, kind of just like doing whatever, and it worked, right?
Yeah.
So I had to learn the hard way of that, like back again. And I feel like now, even especially this record, kind of coming back to that, it's like, that if what we put in, if we just like what we put into stuff, and back to Cheng's comments about just like passion and honesty with what we're doing, that like, maybe we won't have a hit record, but it's not going to be a bad record. It's going to be a good record, right? So I think that's at the end of the day, like, I think that can fuel another 10 or 20 years of, or whoever knows how long that this record can.
How could you even know Sex Tape was going to do what it did? How could you know kids were going to listen to Cherry Waves and find something in it? Like, I remember when I was in the car driving, again, my kid and his friends, and they asked for Cherry Waves. I'm like, that's a deep fucking cut. What are you talking about? And it was like, people just, they gravitate towards things. Can I ask if you guys, if you relate to what Chino's saying about kind of moments where it feels natural to sort of not be at your best, or perhaps looking back on it now that you weren't as connected as.
Yeah, I mean,
what he's saying, or what he just said right now, is what I am now. That like he's talking about what my perspective of things right now. Like, I've gotten lucky to get to this point on autopilot forever. You know what I mean? Like, I've just
Not forever though.
No, but I'm gonna say, when I say autopilot, but for me, I've never thought about any of it. I've just enjoyed it. I've had, as we're talking about, my entire ethos this entire time has been one of just having fun. I'm having a good time with my friends, with people I meet wherever we're at in the world. I'm out enjoying this life, this lifestyle, experiences, moments in time. And I still live that way now. But I have a greater appreciation for the whole of all of this. And like he said, it's like, I want to put more into it now. Like, I see myself putting more into it now going forward than I have in a while. That, like where he's just talking about, it's like, it was just happening, and it's like, well, I've just gone through a whole phase of it just happening, like for instance, like when we were, wrapping up the entire tour cycle for Gore going into Ohms, all I wanted to do was just like kick it and just take a break. Like, man, I feel like all we do is just keep going. So that was where my mindset came, and then that's when the pandemic came, and I was like, perfect. Finally, I'm gonna get to kick it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was for me to my detriment. You know, I got too damn lazy and too complacent with too many things, and you know, now I'm having to build myself back from all that. You know, and it's like I said, what he was just saying. It's like, you know, I realize and recognize that, you know, yeah, I put stuff in. But can I put more? I can do more.
You're spectacular on this record, bro. You're spectacular on this record.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but I don't know. You know,
I think all those things have made us realize that, like, what we started talking about was how we gave ourselves all that time to do this record. It's like, we've learned we don't need to ram it in a 2-month period, you know, or force it that way, and allow us to live our lives separately and together and make it work, you know.
And still be efficient too.
Still be very
you know,
efficient.
Yeah.
And look, and also one other thing, back to what Chino was saying too, because you were asking, you know, Chino has always amazed me with his vocals. Like I never, because we don't ever hear the vocals until the songs are done. Like they happen when he finishes the songs, right? So that's always been amazing. And I've always been giving him grief for playing guitar for all these damn years, you know what I mean, making fun. But I'm here to tell you in front of everyone, this man right here, shown and proved on this record, there's a lot of amazing ideas on here that are his ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're gonna give me the compliment, I'm just gonna pass it down.
That's beautiful.
You know, again, back to where, like I said, you know, can I contribute more? Did I contribute? Sure, I was part of the process the whole time, but I've been going through, you know, my health issues and learning about me and trying to figure out what it is that has been, you know, bothering me, you know, and I'm in a better place now than I was. But when we were recording the record, like I said, you know, I finished my parts a year and a half ago, right? I was lucky when we did that, because when we were tracking drums, I got lucky that we actually tracked all our scratch tracks before anything happened. Because once that happened, like my arm became immobile. I couldn't do anything. I was like laying around on just pain meds and just like coming to tears, you know, because my arm was so sore. And thankfully, you know, I got my, you know, my energy came back up and I was able to play again. By time it was time for me to actually track, you know. And then when we were tracking, you know, the guitars and the bass and stuff like that, I was like, oh man, yeah, that's when I really first started hearing the songs. We were always playing the songs, you know, but that was when they were starting to sound like what we hear on our records. I was like, whoa, all right.
Why are you being so open? Can we address this for the fans and ask the question? I mean, did you enjoy the US tour? Did you like the road coming out of into the summer this year, 2025?
I had a great time. And I had a great time on our last tour with Gojira back in 22.
Does it extend to the world, or do you still just want to tour domestically at this point? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, because we're touching on that, let's get it out there right now. I literally don't do it because I'm not flying on airplanes anymore. And I'm not going to get on a boat, therefore I am here. It's that simple.
You know, you've got a situation that allows you to continue to tour internationally. And as of the time of this conversation going out, you will have played some incredible shows. You know, God willing, you're going to be out there playing Glastonbury again, which is going to be crazy. You know, one of your biggest stadium shows in a long time, out there doing it. Is it Crystal Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. Let's just talk a little bit about how that experience has changed for you over the years as well, versus who you were perhaps 20 years ago, going out in front of 50, 60,000 people doing big package tours, coming out and doing those shows now. I saw 2 shows, as I said, on the US tour. You're all in incredible health. Best sounding, best Deftones shows I've ever seen. So how have you approached it differently than perhaps how you lived it before?
I feel like I'm just enjoying it more. I'm present, you know, now. The sobriety's been great for me. It's been
How long now?
Almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And that was just like a total game changer, like, you know, from so many aspects of life, obviously, but
And it just run its course for you? Had you just got to a point where you just knew?
yeah, just like, it's just sad, you know, like through the pandemic was like when it all came to a head, you know what I mean? And I think like everything just kind of like, you know, where a lot of people just like Steph was saying, oh, we're off now, we can be home. All I can, like, initial thing was like, I'll just dive in to be creative, and now I can be at home and I can just go to my studio every day. That did not happen. Like, I just did not feel creative at all during that time. I would go down in my studio and I'd sit in there and I'd pick up a guitar for a minute and I'd like strum it for a second, and then I'd go put on a record, listen to something, crack a beer, you know what I mean? And just start like whatever, and like every day. And then it got earlier and earlier, like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, there's nothing to do. Like, and I just got like, I just got sad, lonely. I think everybody was feeling that way. You know, I'm not the only person that was feeling very isolated and just lonely. And honestly, like we started going on tour when we were early 20s, maybe even late teens, early 20s, pretty much. So most of my life, I've like had this outlet of like expressing myself and going out and doing things, and like that was like taken away completely.
Probably the longest we had ever been home.
The longest I'd ever been home, and
15 years.
And also, you've just put an album out. I mean, you had how many times
Yeah.
you have
Yeah,
to,
it came out during.
how many times you have to postpone or cancel that tour?
I think once.
Twice?
Yeah, twice. We
maybe.
the gear with Gojira, there was like I think 3 times was
Yeah.
postponed.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah, we actually put the record out
disorientating.
during that time too.
Yeah,
you know?
but the record came out and we just stayed home. You know what I mean? So it was really weird. But yeah, going through all that and then coming out of it and then just like realizing that I just want to do something, try something different, right? And then just like realize that like something I'd never tried it before, just to, you know, and then like sort of like I felt like I woke up, you know, and then really like the way I think with the shows, writing everything, like when I started writing again, it was just like, you know, everything is a lot clearer, you know, and then funny enough, like, not funny, but like when I would play shows, I would have fun playing the show. Before the show, a drink, a beer, a shot, whatever, and go on stage, you know, to feel like I need that to get out there and like, you know, be loose and you know, be silly and have fun, whatever, blah, blah. But like I would never be able to watch any live performance of myself. And if one would come on, I would just like cringe and I couldn't look at it. And that like clicked me all of a sudden. I was like, why can't I even watch, you know, myself? And it really like made me understand like I was just not really happy with myself. I knew I could do better. I knew there was a better version of what
you could trust yourself too.
Yes. And then Nick, like now, like you're saying about these shows.
That's
like,
a powerful statement, by the way, bro. That's not lost on anyone. Where so you can trust yourself as that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
Without having that, you know, and I know I've watched you all my life, you know, and to see where you're at now, and just to know that you're trusting yourself, and your energy is through the roof because of that, you know.
Yeah.
This is
And
nothing
your boys,
but,
like I've seen that the joy that I've seen you have on stage over the years has always been present, regardless of whether you've been distracting yourself backstage before the show or whatever. But this was different, man. Like you were just watching everyone around you do their job and just loving every second of it.
I just feel like more present, and I feel more inside the music. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not like doling it with, you know what I mean? I'm really like, it's a lot more, I don't know, I can't explain exactly what it is, but it's awesome, and it's fun.
I mean, there's been some legendary shows before that time too. I'm trying to think like,
Did you,
okay, let's go there for a few minutes.
Let's go, yeah.
Did you crowd surf in London, either Forum or Brixton, go outside?
I got locked out. Yes.
Didn't you tear down a bootlegger's, like, didn't you take
No,
down?
I think that was a little lore, but I remember going, what I do remember of it is crowd surfing to the back, and then I went out the front doors, and then I ran around the back of the building or something. I tried to get back in, and they wouldn't let me back in. And I could hear them playing on stage still.
Just holding it
Yeah.
down.
And finally, like, they let me
Stretch it
back in. I was
out.
like, I
Come on,
swear that my band's playing on stage right now.
Do you remember what
Like,
song
no.
it was? Do you remember what you were playing?
No, there's been, I mean, it's
So many times. So how'd you
yeah.
get back?
I mean, you'd always surf out, you know,
Yeah,
crowd surf
somehow
to the
they let
bar,
me
get a
back in,
drink. That's
whatever,
pretty
but it was
typical.
pretty-
Did you crowd surf across at one point, get a beer from the bar in a cup, crowd
did
surf
that.
back, and it was still in the cup?
Probably.
Some good fans.
These are the stories that get kicked around amongst us all, you know. It's
Yeah,
just
I mean,
like-
I've seen some like footage of us like in our, like, you know, our heyday, like mid 90s, like 97, 98 too, that are just like, it's insane. Some of the stuff that I used to jump off and all that stuff. It's like crazy. Yeah.
Youthful exuberance.
Yes.
And would you change anything? No. Can you change anything? No. But here we are now. I mean, I think I can speak for all of us. I'm just incredibly grateful, man, you know, for, again, to have another chance to make an album, you know, to get together with you guys. And this was by design that we took this time to do it too. And we were afforded that which is a special place to be as well, you know, we took time. We spoke to you like, I need time. I don't want to, so we built this process.
That's all I do is fight the clock.
So here we are. But now the icing's on the cake. We're about to slice it, and so just incredibly grateful, man. And this tour, this leg that you saw, we just got off this thing was like, whoa, man. To see look around and see my homies and the smiles on their faces.
Everyone's happy.
We were farther away, but I would, just the connection and just
We
seeing,
are happy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to overstep it, but I think I can speak on behalf of everyone. We feel like we're celebrating with you.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a
'Cause-
celebration.
Yeah, because when you discover something that you love, think about that first band that you all fell in love with for the first time. That first band that made you want to do it. How many of them are still going? Truthfully.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you get to grow up with a band that consistently shows up and does their best work.
Yeah, and even for the younger fans, like I was thinking about it when on this last tour too. It's like, because there were a lot of like 15, 16-year-old
yeah,
kids. And I was thinking about my first concert at that age and how it still has an impression on me
Who
to
was
this
it?
day.
Who was it?
Depeche Mode. I was on the Violator tour. And
Kind of full rock star mode.
yes, so seeing that, working my way up to the front and standing up there, like watching it, and it set such an impression on me for my life till today.
I bet you I can almost pinpoint that moment right down to Never
Yeah.
Let You Down Again. Literally that moment when he's doing that shit at the
Yeah.
end. It's just like,
So like I had that in my head, like this is some of these kids' first show too. So like, wouldn't it be rad to leave them with a similar impression, right? Like them leave here to like and think that maybe 30, 40 years, whatever.
Yeah.
And now when asked about their first show, whatever, right?
Never Let Me Down Again. I love that song. And I'm just thinking about it right now, and I was going to ask you, I'm like, do you know Martin's lyrics? Because you can hear him in the background the whole time he's saying that, but I don't know what he says.
what he's saying.
Do you know what he says?
No, I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I only know the Never Let Me Down Again part.
He's in there.
But he's singing the whole time right
Yeah,
through that.
yeah.
I need to go back and figure out what he's saying.
What was your first gig that you went to that was the life changer?
Stevie Wonder.
Beautiful.
How old were you?
40? No, I was probably like 6
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
My parents were musicians. I was around. There was in womb and out.
Straight
but
in.
yeah, Stevie Wonder was my first,
Yeah.
and songs in the key of life, baby.
Yeah. What about you, Frank? What changed your life?
God, so many different moments. I don't know.
Debbie Gibson.
Yeah, David Gibson.
At the mall.
Underrated.
No, I think, as a kid, seeing all the stuff I was listening to at the time, but it wasn't until I was a little older, I had been lived in Sacramento, and I saw Sade for the first time, and her band.
Now I'm really jealous. Now I'm really envious.
That was just another level of, like, I had gone and seen Metallica and NWA
Yeah.
and all the other shit listened to as a kid, but it was another level for me.
She's the Snow Leopard.
Yeah.
I don't have any shows that actually made an impact. It was records always that were my thing. I was into listening to the music,
Yeah.
really like hearing the production.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like the precision of the record. That's kind of how I got drawn into it. Was how flawless people made the things, the details of the songs.
We're all obsessed with your guitar tone and the fact that you're able to make things sound heavy, but also bring a huge amount of emotion out. And that the kind of chords you play and the way that you play them are so essential to the overarching feeling that we get from this band. And I know that you were really open and honest before about, effort versus enjoyment, but I'm sure that's something that you obviously put a lot of thought into and feeling into as to how you get your guitar to sound that way. And is that fair to say?
I'll say to this day, the sound, what I relate to, what I do, I have the sound of Faith No More, of Jim Martin and Scott Ian entrenched in my brain, and no matter what I try to do, I always go back to those sounds. Like the sound of a nice power chord is what always satisfies me. Now it doesn't mean I don't enjoy the rest. I just love that sound. It works the best for me, for what makes me feel good and having fun.
There is just such a unique feeling to the kind of chords you choose to play and how you choose to put them together.
Power chord, that's it.
Keep them honest, really? It's just too...
I mean, it's almost that. I mean, if it's not that, it's some random collection of single notes with open strings.
Open strings.
Dissonance,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just we're creating soundscapes, if you will,
Sure.
right? And there's just some things for me, like my instinct and where I gravitate to always is hearing a chord ring out or like palm muted stuff. That's what I'm really into. And but I like I said, like he was talking about what you put in and stuff like that. Like I'm at a place now where I'm more interested in putting in stuff that I'm unfamiliar with and trying to be more than just the power chord. But I still end up back there. That's the problem.
It's funny though. I don't think this is something to be proud of specifically, but as a band, as I think as musicians and as a band, I feel like we're much more into making sound than we are like writing songs.
Very true.
Like the sounds are what really inspire us when we start making music. Honestly, like no one ever goes, oh, let's go from this chord to this chord and this chord. Like,
Yeah.
it's the sound of like for instance, we made White Pony. The only idea that we had going into making that record is we were really, really into like DJ Shadow at the time and like a lot of stuff like that. We just wanted drums. Like we were so into just like drums and just low end, like sub bass, certain little things that we wanted. Now our record didn't turn out sounding like that, but
Well, teenager. I mean, I hear elements of what you're trying to
But this
achieve,
is
but
what
yeah.
like inspired us, right? The sound, not so much the song or like a lyric or anything like that. Like all that stuff kind of comes secondary. So like I said, I don't know if that's something to be proud of.
But that's how it's always been, though.
But I feel like that's what really inspires us. You know what I mean? Obviously each other.
Well, it's a more immersive experience for us as listeners, I think, when you decide to focus on the entire sonic experience rather than just like how I feel when there's a chord progression. It's like,
I do love great chord progressions, and something that's a little left of center always is like, oh wait, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, like it's the other way. It doesn't happen. Even with lyrics with me, like it's like the lyrics are very, like I've never written something down and said, here guys, we should make a song about this.
Yeah, it's verbatim, yeah.
Or whatever, or we should write a song about this or anything. That's like, that is inspired by the sound that is, the bed of sound that was laid underneath. That's why I was saying my vocals come last, because the song sort of dictates a feeling, right? And then the vocals are sort of mostly convey or solidify that feeling of the sound is the sonics of it.
but there's a yearning that you land on sporadically over the course of your lyrical journey as a writer that really, I think, captures people's desire to escape.
Mm-hmm.
Or the desire.
That's what I do. I mean, the music has always been an escape for me.
Yeah.
And
also
lyrically, it's kind of the same
like a beautiful escape. Like
Yeah.
that romantic scene where it's just getting too much and someone pulls up outside and it's like, don't look back.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, I don't know, a feeling that I think people
Yeah.
get from listening to your music, and that inspires those lyrics. Does that ring true for you?
Totally. I mean, but that's kind of the music I grew up listening to, and it was at the time it was a really weird kind of juxtaposition of that sort of writing. Like Simon Le Bon was probably one of the biggest like lyrical sort of like, and that's not because I was listening to him thinking I was going to be a songwriter, but like trying to figure out what is he talking about,
Yeah.
right? And
He's
then
an
like,
abstract writer.
very abstract, but definitely leaves you with a feeling, right? So that's how I learned how to write, just by listening to what I liked, right? So kind of mimicking what I liked.
But then the flip
And-
side of that is there's also this kind of like claustrophobia that comes with it too, which I feel is like a very Black Celebration type of thing. Like I think of Change, and I think of like Martin Gore as most claustrophobic in a dark room trying to figure out what he's feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make, again, is that?
Yeah, it is definitely. But I think, like I was saying, the juxtaposition of that with music that was, especially when we started off, like a lot more straightforward, just heavy, sort of aggressive, like whatever. And putting those kind of themes with that kind of helped us kind of build what we, what we've been building all these years, I guess, whatever, too.
Can you tell us a story about Change? Because it's a song that continues to change your life. It's happened multiple times now. I mean, it's maybe the second or third time that song has found an audience once again, a new generation. So, it's a timeless moment for you. So let's give the people some color around it, especially the ones that are discovering it for the first time and what it means to you now and really where it came from originally.
That was one of the songs that, like, not all of them, but only a select few of them that literally almost write themselves. You know, those are sometimes the best songs, I think. Like, literally, I was just learning how to play guitar, and Stefan and I were just together, just playing off each other. Abe came in. When he came in with that sort of like detuned record kind of ambient kind of thing, whatever, it was when it really got creepy, right? So it just kind of let this created this vibe, and like literally it's probably one of the fastest songs. You know, there's always those songs with that they come from some place and they sort of write themselves.
I think Terry walked out of the room and was like, "What was that?" You know what I mean? Like,
And that was also the first, like you said, there was only a handful of songs that were written for White Pony when we went to the studio. We
Yeah, that
thought
was
we
one
could
of
be
them.
like, oh, Fleetwood Mac wrote Rumors or what, you know, like, but, and that can work great when it works. It could also just be a disaster and be incredibly, you know, expensive, and you're pissed, you're under the clock, you know, but it did work. We were using the studio as a laboratory for the first time. But
Yeah.
that's the first song that you did lyrics to.
Okay.
And I remember we just, you know, you heard Lame Down, then Terry did a little rough mix, and it was the first song on that album that had lyrics, and that you sang, and we just were tripping, you know, in the control room, just like, fuck, this is some new shit for us, you know, this is brand new. This is that record, as we've discussed many times, was us taking the hardest left turn when everything was going right here.
Yeah.
And you know, it was a conscious turn.
And the song itself, I mean, lyrically, it's obviously to be interpreted, but the song is kind of speaks of transformation, right? Like, so it's just kind of like, it just felt like something was developing and something was blooming.
But it's coming from your subconscious. It was happening quickly.
Totally.
So you must be aware of the fact that you're transforming out of where you've been into something else.
Yeah.
At that moment in time, it kind of affords you the future you've had ever since. I mean, God bless that moment where you took that turn, right?
Yeah.
Those hard decisions you have to take. Say the same thing about Radiohead or countless other bands who make that hard decision to say no to fans even.
And honestly, that band was a huge influence. I just read today that it's like been 38 or 28 years since OK Computer came out. And that record came out when we were in writing Around the Fur. That record had just came out, or at least Paranoid Android had just came out, the video, cartoon video and everything. And just, I remember we were in the studio literally writing Around the Fur and watching that video for the first, and just having my mind blown, like how music can be anything. Like, you know, I was already in love with the Bends. Is probably one of my favorite records.
But that was their
and then
Around
that
the
came
Fur.
out.
That was their Around the Fur.
Well, I think that
You
was
know?
their White Pony in a way, like too, right? Because so we were behind, right? We were doing our Around the Fur, but then after that, I was like, when I watched them do that, I was like, you know, we can do anything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And they continue to do that with their records. You know what I mean? A lot of people get mad. Like, people got mad at us. I always remind people when we put out White Pony, it was like,
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't like as well received as like people like talk about it now, right? Like, there was so many people like, why aren't you screaming anymore? Why aren't you mad? And why isn't this, whatever? I mean, there's some of that on there, but I mean, that record was really like, you know, sort of a departure from that, not completely, but a little, you know, and I feel like with Radiohead too, they still get shit, I'm sure,
Oh,
by
yeah.
people like wondering why he's not playing his guitar, you know? But I love that it's music. It could be anything.
Yeah, they give us something to grow into.
Yes.
You know, give us something to grow with and understand later in life. That's the beauty of it. But how does it come to you? I mean, I know I think after on your 10th album now, we can get to that question, you know?
Yeah.
How does it come to you when you hear the music? Like, how much of it is quote unquote cerebral and how much of it is just pure feeling and you just let it slide?
It's just, I mean, I come up with melodies first before anything, like cadence sometimes, and sort of like the vocal rhythms maybe I'm gonna do, but mostly just melodies. So like a lot of the demos you'll hear, a lot of times some sentences, fully formed sentences will come out, but almost every song that we've ever recorded, I have my headphones on and I have a microphone and then I just start going. And it's usually, not all the time, but a lot of times what ends up on the album is usually very close to like my first instinct of what notes I choose to go to. I don't know. Like, it comes from someplace, but it's not like, you know, I honestly,
There's not a
I'm not that
playbook anymore.
methodical.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
I think a lot of this comes from us being self-taught too. You know, I mean, just, you know,
Totally.
no one was really schooled.
I make that excuse all the time why I don't know theory and why, whatever, because I feel like it'll ruin, like I'll start doing things differently.
The theorists be calling you geniuses regardless.
Right.
So
Well, that's my excuse, but I do want to really like understand at some point. Stefan and I talked about this too, about like really like starting to take like music classes. Yeah. I'm very interested in doing it. But like I literally made that excuse like for so long that like I don't want to know what I'm doing because it might stop me from doing what I've naturally done.
But there's a quest. We're on a quest to try to figure.
yes.
It's great to learn, man. We're never stop.
But as you say that, because what I've been thinking about this whole time, you're saying is like, you're never going to lose what you naturally do because that is what you
that's who you
naturally
are.
do.
That's right.
And that's what I was thinking about. Like you're asking him, like where does it come from? I'm like, well, it comes from a place that no one can describe because that's just the way he hears it. Like I am like trying to force myself into playing different patterns from what I've always played because I always go to the same notes because they're the ones that I relate to, the way they sound inside. Like, oh no, I don't. That other note sounds like a bunk note to me.
Pleasure.
But I'm just saying, there's like there's 12 notes in music, right? And none of them are bunk. Like they all work always. It's just what we're familiar with, And so when I think about, like I said, like where does it come from? Like, well, there is no definition from where it comes from. That's just the intuitive nature of how he processes the music. It comes out that way, Because like I said, we were talking about it earlier. Like when I listen to like all the vocals, I don't hear the vocals until we hear the songs done.
Must be wild.
Because that's not what we, that's not what we do. We get together as friends and we play the music. We make the music, and then the vocals happen, right? So time we get to that phase, for me, I'm just always like, wow, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Like, and then that's when it starts becoming what, like I said, like where I'm always making fun of them. I'm like, dude, why don't you just sing when you're playing guitar when we're playing? Because now you got to sing some stuff that's not even natural to what you're playing.
Well, there you go, though.
It must be the closest thing you get to being a fan of your own band. I mean, most people don't get to do that. You sit in the room with everybody else, and it's like eventually it comes out. You're sick of it, you want to move on. You get that first impression like the rest of us do. It's kind of joyous. And same for you when you hear the music, right? And you're like, oh man, I get to react this way if you're not writing.
Yeah.
Well, you've heard the whole record before I have.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I've heard stuff. I mean, we're getting stuff along the way, but I haven't heard the whole thing, like,
Check it out.
as a record yet, you know what I mean? Like you, I don't know the arrangement right now. I don't know if we're even settled on it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're still figuring out song titles as well.
Very, very, very close. I'm like waiting to the last minute so that they have to tell me like it has to be turned in tomorrow, like the final titles.
Is it always like that for you?
Kinda, yeah. Yeah. But usually with the records, I then once all the lyrics are written in there, then I can sort of title the song. Sometimes I'll have the title before I write the lyrics, but not always.
I am gonna learn the titles
You got
and how to play them all when it comes out, because until then, I don't know what it is right now.
We should talk about the first song that's coming out, because that will be announced, I'm sure, around the time this happens, and so people will be getting ready for it. And I think it's going to be the first song on the record, right? Mm-hmm. Which is called?
My Mind is a Mountain.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about that song, the creation of it. I'd love to hear from the band.
Ask Stefan what song that is.
For me, that song is called Boot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, at least you got the right one.
For me, it's called The
Because
Boot.
I just heard the name for the first time. I'm like, what the hell is that? I already know what the single is,
Check
but
your
it ain't
email,
that
man.
song.
Check your email.
How did the music come together before we get to the lyrics and the feel of it?
Shangri-La. You were just jamming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the Shangri-La ones.
That was a jam. That was one of those ones like Change. There was no song. We were in the room just messing around, and then it just started forming.
Yeah.
It goes like this. Yo, oh, that's sick. Do that. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, do that again. Do this. Yo,
But
that's
it didn't
sick.
start with us saying that. It's like he said. It started with Nick going, "Hey, put that on that and that." And then
Usually, like when Abe joins in, and I really love his drums. That's probably one of my favorites drumming of his on the record. I love the way the beat sort of flips upside down from the verse into the choruses, the pre-choruses. So when we start locking together, that's when it's like, oh, it solidifies. There's a part. And then what happens usually is there's a part there, and we're playing it, we're all happy, and then like Nick looks at us and he's like, okay, what's the next part? I'm like,
What do you mean?
fuck, I just
We're
wrote
jamming.
this part. Like, give me a second, right?
can we enjoy this
Yeah,
part
right.
first?
and then so then it's like, okay, let's go here, and then
Well, because he knows he's got something, right? He's just trying to get it out of
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
the dry erase
But
board, the
sometimes
whiteboard,
he-
and he's up there just like,
sometimes he's pushy.
But that's what we like about him, though. We actually like that. I mean, in the moment, sometimes not so much, but overall, I mean, that's why we got him.
Yeah,
because he does drive us, you know?
But that song is I love the fact that it's bombastic. I think it has that like, just that head nod. I think, which is like it's heavy, but like we always sort of the one thing that we've always kind of collectively always sort of describe our band is like, it's no matter what style of music it is, we always like to feel like you can nod your head to it.
Yeah. Well,
right?
because you have to groove to it. At the end of the day, right? It's got to make you dance.
Yeah. And we all love drums, and we all love we love beats.
Yeah.
It's hard being the drummer in the band because it's also, I mean, it's because these fools love beats so much that it's like there's scrutiny, but it's also great because like, there's just a love of rhythm and beats. So there's always ideas being tossed around, sometimes told, which I can say yay or nay to. But it's just, there's a love of beats, man.
But there's a lot of push and pull in that song, which is like what I really love. And it's just
And they're
energy.
easy though. They're simple changes that make it, because it's not that difficult. I mean, but it's like, but it works.
I want to go through all the titles and see whether or not they're going to stick or not. Yeah, let's go through what I wrote down to see if it actually makes sense to you. Okay, here we go. My Mind is a Mountain. Glove.
That's an
That's a working title.
I wish you'd been in the room watching your team try to figure out how to pronounce the next one.
I was about to say, what song is that? Damn, that's a hell of a long name.
Start with this
Ecdysis?
ecdysis,
Ecdysis?
shedding.
Yeah.
Shedding. Middle Dream?
Yes.
Sticking?
I think so.
What was that?
There was a whole title. See, that's another one. It was
Yeah,
called,
what's this one now?
Yeah, that's not the
eating
original.
Eating metal in your dreams.
That's
Right.
a cool name, though.
Departing the Body, the last song?
Yeah, that's it.
Fuck, that's amazing.
What song is that?
Skirt.
Yeah, I like that.
I think about you all the time, one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was called Arm. The
That's
initial
a-
thing.
God,
that
that's
was
my-
that was a Shangri-La thing where it was like I, literally remember the moment of getting up in the morning, walking down the street, jumping in the ocean,
Yeah.
coming back in
I
my swim
remember that.
trunks and just sitting there in just my bare feet on the guitar and
What
just
a
started
life.
playing that, and it was like.
That's a jam, dude.
Yeah.
And then that morning kind of came with the idea, and then we started working on music that whole day. And then that night, right before I went to sleep, I just made a cup of coffee, and I was like, Nick, let's record that thing I did this morning, and sort of made an arrangement for it. Yeah,
It's such a good title as well. You gonna keep that one?
I think so.
It's so good.
Thank you.
Infinite Source, I fucking love.
Yeah,
Say that one again?
Infinite Source?
that's I.
Okay.
That is the first song that we wrote for the whole
record.
For the whole record.
And that one came out like in a second.
In Nashville?
That was Stefan came up with that initial part in Nashville, and then it kind of was arranged and everything. I think in the desert.
I mean, we jammed it pretty much all there. Remember?
Okay.
Hey, Steph, can we come on your bus? Yeah, man. We were gonna fly, and we're like, let's get Steph. We need to get Stefan somehow into the studio, get some ideas down.
Yeah.
So he was on a bus. We're flying,
Yeah.
and yo, Steph, can we come on your bus? He's like, hell yeah. I got
See?
bunks, and he cleaned the bunks out. And
Sometimes the old ways are the best, right? Here they are on the bus.
So the way that story actually happened was, I was on the bus already
Yeah.
because I don't fly anymore. Back to that.
Yeah.
I was already going out to these shows, and I was already going to Nashville. I extended the invite to them because I'm like, and by them, I extended it specifically to Abe because Nick wanted us to jam. Everybody was like, we
To
want
Abe?
that Abe and Steph magic, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay.
To who?
I was like, well, maybe Abe wants to come between Daytona and Ohio.
Right.
So we did. And then Chino jumped on board, and then that's what we did.
We made popcorn on the bus. We had a long drive. We watched a movie, and then we
Made I.
went night.
That's kind of how.
There was other ideas, but yeah, I mean, that was...
That one, but
was-
that one came. My point
was
is that
our
one came
first-
super quick, man.
That was our first session together with any of us because prior to that, I had already done a session with Nick where it was just me and him jamming, and it was like, okay, well, that's cool. We got a million riffs recorded, but I mean, none of these are songs, you know what I mean? Like, we're just having fun. Again, that's kind of how I'm always doing it, you know, and that's why I said what he was saying about, you know, when you get this other perspective and you figure out, you know, about what you put into it and what you get out of it, you know, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I haven't had that perspective, you know, I've never thought like that, but I see that now, you know, that's something I can relate to now because going through this tour for me was the most work I've ever done on tour, and again, that's, you know, in regards to me just learning how to manage my energy because of when I say that, I'm type 2 diabetic, and I just learned that in the last year. And I've literally been punishing my body with sugar my entire adult life. And it's just got to that point, especially like I said, since the pandemic, where I was like, finally a break, you know, because up until that point, I had already been starting to get, you know, sluggish in ways, right?
But you figured this out, dude. I mean, this is amazing.
So last year was my lowest point when we played Coachella last year. I was completely out of it for both shows. I barely had enough energy to stand up. All I could think about during those shows was, please just don't fall over on stage. I just didn't want to.
You literally came up to me after the show and you were like, I'm sorry. And I was like, for what? You're like, and you told me that you almost fell down. I was like, I didn't realize it, you know, whatever. But that's when you kind of surrendered. You were like, yo, I've got to like figure out what's going on with me.
Yeah, I just didn't want to pass out. Yeah, and then, so that's when, you know, I up until this point in my life, I don't have a doctor. I have one now, you know, but for me, like I said, last year was, that was where I considered to be my bottom, where, like I said, I was just out of it. And I've been really making an effort to go the other way. You know, I'm eating right every day. You know, I'm exercising. I need to really get into some weight training. I don't do that at all yet. That's my next step, you know, and because I'm just trying to rebuild me. You know, I really got me out of whack, you know, and again, I like he was talking about gratitude. You know, I have complete gratitude for everything, for everyone, for so much things. I throw around the terms blessings all the time and God all the time, because all of this has woken me up to that kind of reality. And you know, I say to you guys and everyone, I am very grateful to be here, because I had no idea how close to being gone I was, you know.
Look, I was so happy to see you all today. I was so grateful you said yes. First of all, I know you guys promote your records and you're very kind and you're good people to people who care about your band, but this isn't that common. Like for all of us to sit down together and have this kind of conversation, at least for me, feels very special.
Yeah, they're very nice.
And I just feel very grateful that we're all still here, and what an amazing blessing that is. And I did think about Chi Cheng. I did, and I thought about his lasting spirit on the band, and I thought about the times that I met him, and when I used to interview back in the day, and how he was just such a warm and welcoming, funny fucking dude.
Funny.
And while, you know, you might have been, and I know you'll take this with grace, you know, hungover or not quite in the mood to answer questions, Chi would always fill the room. He'd be like, no, we're here. We're gonna make an effort. We're here.
Yes.
And I always really appreciated that about him, and I just thought, you know, with your blessing, we could just reflect a little bit on his enduring spirit within the band, and you know, where you still feel him, not just as a friend, but as just a creative spirit.
All that stuff, though, man. Like, you know, doing interviews with him was always, it was best, but it was also scary because
what is he gonna say?
Because you just, sometimes he would just say some outlandish shit, and you'd just be like,
"Oh, that's on the internet."
Yes, it was like, you know, all in good spirit, right? But he, you know,
that's what I love about it. Me and him would go say the most craziest stuff.
Yeah, even in our darkest times, like you know, when we were making, for instance, Saturday Night Wrist, and we'd come into the studio, we'd all meet at our in Sacramento at the spot. And we'd come in from the day, and we'd sit down from it, and just like like, what happened to you today? And he would just go into this story that happened in that day, and we're like, all this happened today?
Like a debrief.
Like a debriefing, whatever. But like, and then we'd try to like beat like who had the crazier day. I mean, it was crazy times, but it was like, as bad as things were, it was like, it brought so much joy to like share these things with it. He would tell these like things in a way when it's just like we just had to laugh.
And these are painful things too.
Painful things, and we just have to laugh with each other, and like that's the way we kind of consoled each other, and we're there for each other. You know what I mean?
That's the making of our record that never came out, Eros.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was on the Eros record. Yeah, I mean,
it was like crazy times, and then he had an accident, and we were just like, what?
Yeah.
But the best part about that time, honestly, was the connection that we had. Like the music for that record, it was, you know, if I had to like remember what musically we did back there, I don't really remember anything being like the greatest Deftones thing that we were working on
Smile
at the time.
was beautiful.
I think that was probably the best of what the lot, I think. But more than anything during that time, we were really reconnecting as friends. Yeah, but that time was very special, you know what I mean? And then like, you know, you mentioned like out of nowhere, like, you know, we got that phone call right in the middle of that, and it was just like honestly, like the band was like on the very back of our thoughts. You know what I mean? That was kind of like when everything kind of got put in perspective, like, you know, how lucky we are to have each other and like to have the friendship that we had up to that point, and that honestly we still continue to have, obviously, with us. But I think about him all the time. You know, we think about him
spirit
all the time. There's
endures,
there's
man.
not a day that goes by where, you know, when we're together, something happens and like a Chang story comes up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can I say as a fan that in every record since, we still hear him.
Yeah.
We still hear him.
Yeah, that's the one thing that, you know, that he left us, that will all, like that music. It's like when you hear what he plays too, also unconventional. Like, you know, I think he was another sort of version of that within the band, where, you know, because he listened to, you know, only reggae and, you know, Taj Mahal and whatever, it's like he didn't play bass like was expected to play over what Stefan was playing, and to, you know, to the drums Dave was playing, and that's kind of what made it special. You know, I mean, I think anybody who plays bass with us from this point on is always going to have big shoes to fill, because it's not, you know, it's to this day still with, like, you know, Fred, he's awesome, and he's so like he's so efficient. I mean, he learns our catalog. I mean, there's so many things for him to learn, but even to this day too, like sometimes I'll stop and I'll be like, hold on a second, and I'll try to show him, like, well, Chang did this, whatever, and I didn't really pay attention to what Chang was doing, but I heard what he was doing, right? So I'll be like, no, I think he played it over here. It was down here lower on the neck, whatever, blah, blah. But like, it's hard to even explain what he was doing a lot of times, because his timing was weird. You know, he tapped his foot on a...
He always tapped his foot on the up. So if you're trying to look for where the one is, his foot is on the up. So we would like, don't look at the foot.
He wasn't on the offbeat, he was offbeat.
Oh yeah, I like that. But he filled, like, his, you know, it was that way, and he filled these holes. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like that. I think in his mind, in his mind, that was his job, to like fill the holes in our songs.
And that's also the role of bass too, you know. So man,
the notes you don't exactly.
We'd call him the two-headed Chang, because you never know what you might get certain times, and that laugh, and just the generosity too, you know. And
so generous with his time and his energy. I remember that. I remember being in rooms with you guys and thinking, oh fuck, I'm the 15th interview of the day. You got a gig tonight. You're all fucking tired. No one wants to dance about architecture today, and you'd still make me feel welcome in that early moment, like it's gonna be cool. Like, don't worry about these dicks. We're gonna be all right. Don't worry about it. We got you.
Yeah.
You know? And now we have private music. I can't let you go without talking about the title of the record, because you never let us down with that. You never let us down with the artwork.
You know that, right, Steph? It's called private music. You know that?
I know that now.
Okay,
all right, there you go.
Oh my God. Let's can we talk about just about what, you know, where that came from, and as we wrap this up. And
I mean, the simplest answer for that would be, that was a folder on my desktop of you know all of the while we were working on these songs, and where I put stuff at.
yeah.
You know, obviously I like the kind of the exclusivity of the name, whatever. It makes it feel very you know, very, like, I guess maybe restricted, maybe naughty, maybe
Right.
You know, has
Yeah,
all these
yeah,
connotations,
yeah.
I guess, to it, whatever.
Yeah.
Very private, you know, in a way.
Well,
like,
they all kind of float around that ambiguity of kind of, is it legit? Is it a little bit after hours? Is it well after hours? Like Saturday Night Wrist, like, what
All of
is
it.
that? Like, I don't even know what that means.
Naughty boys.
And the artwork always plays into that as well. I feel like you love to dance in that space as well. I've seen the artwork for this album. I think everyone will have by now. It's another striking piece that you and Frank worked on together as a band and everything. So again, while I've got you in this beautiful all-together moment at this moment in time, is talk about the aesthetic element of the band as well. You know, and kind of, if you see a through line to this, a feeling or a sense that makes you feel like this artwork should sit alongside all the others that have existed at some point or another.
well, I mean, so this would be our, maybe, I don't want to get this wrong, but maybe our 6th, 7th record with Frank. I mean, he started, the first record he did with us was White Pony. So yeah. And no one's supposed to know this, but I always share them. He's the only, outside of us right here and our managers, he's the only person that I share them. So like, before this was even mixed, when we left with the rough vocals from the studio, I made a sequence and I sent it to him on the low.
Yeah.
And now it's been outed that to everybody else that he's the only one that has it. But I think it's very important because of the, you know, he works so close with us on that aesthetic of the band. I feel like it's really important that he has the music and he listens to it, and he, you know, and it's not just like, you know, what would a Deftones record like? No, he has the song, so he, you know, I mean, kind of marry the those visuals with the sonics of what's happening there. And then just recently was really cool. He's a great photographer. He's a great artist in a lot of ways. But in his initial layout, he had for the inlay all these like sort of random photos, and I had this idea. I was like, all of us over the last 3 years, especially since we've been making this record, we all have phones. I mean, our cameras on our phones, and all of us take pictures all the time. You know what I mean? And I was like, I think it'd be really, really awesome for everybody to send in just like, a folder of pictures from their phone and really personalize it. Now, the idea was a lot more abstract. It wasn't just like, don't send a picture of Abe and I in front of like, whatever, but like, just sort of
Selfies in Cabo.
Yeah, that kind of goes along with sort of like what Frank had presented. So along with Frank's photos are also all our own personal kind of art. I think that kind of marries really well with
private music.
Everything. Yeah, so it makes it a lot more personal. I think it was a really cool idea that came to fruition.
You know what? I'm so grateful for the time we've got to spend today. Your band has been, like I said, it's the longest relationship I've had outside of my marriage. It's based in love. I fucking love you guys. I love the music you continue to give us, and you never let us down. You never let us down. And I think I speak for everyone when I say that. So here's to the private music era and everything else and everything that's to come with it. And
You just brought Dave and Martin's voices into my head. I'm just like, all right. I'm just singing that song from earlier.
all right. Oh yeah, there you go. You never let us down. Thank you, boys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Zane.
Thank you.